Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dr. Amber Selking.
Morning, Purpose Summit 2023. Good morning. It is so good to be here with you. I have not seen y'all the last couple days because my husband and I just welcomed our first beautiful baby girl. Woo! Miss Eliana Bell graced the world with her greatness 2 weeks ago, Monday, May 8th. She was late to the party, or on her own time, as you might say. She was 9 days past her due date, but she crossed the finish line sprinting and came in 6 hours. And she is an aggressive little hungry hippo these days. So we've been doing lots of nursing and snuggling, but Daddy has a bottle for backup break in case of emergency if she loses her mind in the next couple hours. And so I get to be here with you for just a brief time this morning, but I couldn't miss the opportunity to say hello to all of you, to encourage you on your journeys to make business a force for good in the world, and to truly believe that we can make a difference, because the world needs that now more than ever. It needs people who are committed, who are convicted, and who have the people and community around them to fight this good fight of changing the world, one person at a time, one team at a time, one family at a time. And so today I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing John and Jade Gordon. And so I have to tell a little bit of background of John. John has been a huge impact in my life, and I haven't even officially met him in person yet, although we've talked. Hey, there he is. Great to see you. So we've talked on the phone. He's endorsed my book. We've spent some quality time together virtually, but to be able to be in person, I had to be here because little does he know, years ago when I lost my career here at Notre Dame playing soccer due to injury, his book Training Camp was a huge help in my journey of that, and sort of navigating losing your sport and your identity as it gets wrapped up in a role that we have. And in the back of that book, he has what's called 11 traits of the best. And so I hand wrote out those 11 traits, and I carried it with me from job to job to job over the course of right out of undergrad into grad school, into my time at Lippert, where I've had the honor and privilege of serving for the last 5 years as Vice President of Culture and Leadership. And we've actually dispersed it to our whole C-suite, and so they've got 11 traits of the best. And so that book, Training Camp, was my first introduction to John's work, and transformative work at that. He's written 28 books, 14 of which have been bestsellers, 5 children's books. My team at Lippert actually gave me the Energy Bus children's book version for Ellie, so she's gonna be all energized. I think she's already got the Energy Bus vibe going, which is awesome. And so, again, today we also get to hear from John's beautiful daughter, Jade, who has been on her own incredible identity development journey, searching for her purpose and now finding it in speaking and training around the country, helping business leaders and teams and high schools and elementary school kids understand the opportunity that each individual has to make a positive difference in the world if they choose to live into their purpose and choose positivity. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage John Gordon and Jade Gordon. The first hug.
Let's give a hand for Amber and her newborn baby girl.
So when I was born, my dad held me in his arms and he said, D1 lacrosse player.
It's a true story. I played lacrosse at Cornell University, and I actually played here against Notre Dame, and it's great to be back. And when she was born, I wanted her to be a lacrosse player because I was a lacrosse player. And so the challenge was, though, when she was on the field as a young athlete and young player, she really didn't know what was going on in the game because she was sitting around looking at the sky as the game was going on. I thought, this is a problem. And so she wasn't much of a lacrosse player, but I would encourage her and I would have catches with her. And eventually she started to get better, started to improve. And so we would play in the backyard. I'm like, okay, maybe she can play. And then she started to get a little bit serious with lacrosse, of course, because I was driving her to play more and more and also to practice. And then it got to a point when she was around middle school where she was playing and I was not really encouraging a whole lot. Whenever she would make a mistake, I would actually criticize. When she would do something well, I would expect it. I wasn't a great leader. I was the opposite of a purposeful, positive leader. I was actually in many ways a negative leader. Like so much so that she went to her mom and she said, I'm done playing. I'm quitting. And you know what? She wasn't quitting lacrosse. She was quitting me and the kind of leader that I was. And so that was a really difficult moment. My wife said, all right, you're done. I'm taking over. And let's see what happens. I think she'll play once again. I said, I hope so. But I've got to change. And so I read a great book by Joe Ehrman called Inside Out Coaching. And it was all about being a transformational leader instead of a transactional leader. And so I read this book and it's like, okay, I've got to be more of a transformational leader. I've got to be more impactful. It's not about her playing well so I look like a great dad. You see, I always got my recognition and my rewards through athletics. And so that's how I got my praise. That's how I got my identity. So now I was getting my identity as a parent through my daughter's performance. If she played well, if she was a great player, then I was a great parent. So I can walk around with the other parents and say, oh, look how great I am as a parent. And I realized it had nothing to do with me as a leader. It had everything to do with her becoming who she was meant to be. And my job as a leader was to encourage her. My job was to support her. And that's all I had to do was focus on doing that. So I completely changed. And then as she started playing again, because she agreed to play again, and I agreed to change, I saw her then start to develop. And then she's now on the 9th grade team. And she makes she's 9th grade, but she makes varsity. And so she went from 9th grade team to making varsity. It was a big deal. And then she's a starter. But then she makes a couple of mistakes and the coach benches her. And this coach was like the way I used to be, or even 10 times worse. Like he was the ultimate negative coach. Like you wouldn't believe, he was so negative. And so I had to be the opposite to him even more. I had to encourage her all the time. So I was supporting her through that tough time when she was benched. Jade, it's okay. Him yelling at you, it's gonna make you stronger in the long run. You're gonna learn how to deal with negative people, a negative boss one day. Like it's gonna make you stronger. You just keep on working on your game. You keep on getting better. So I kept on encouraging her in that way. 10th grade, she is now a starter again, makes some mistakes, and then she gets benched again. So then I start encouraging her even more, supporting her, and I start telling her, Jade, you are unstoppable, Jade. You take it to the cage, because she was really good, but she was so hesitant. She was so fearful of messing up, of getting yelled at by the coach. The coach's daughter was on the team, and she yelled at Jade as well. So there was a negative vibe going on all the time. So she was always dealing with that. So she never wanted to actually go for it, because then she might mess up and then get yelled at. So I became that opposite positive force. Jade, you're unstoppable, Jade. You're unstoppable. Now here's the deal. I'm telling her she's unstoppable, but she's very stoppable. And very hesitant and fearful. And so she plays during the season here and there, but doesn't do anything remarkable. Junior year, we're now back and we're in the backyard and we are playing and she's getting really good and I can't stop her. Like I can no longer stop her. She's blowing by me. We're doing dodges and I'm playing defense and she is just blowing by me scoring, but she would never do it on the field. She was always fearful and hesitant. So I kept on saying, Jade, you're unstoppable, Jade. You're unstoppable. And I'll never forget the moment she came to me, she said, Dad, I am going to be unstoppable today. I am going for it in this game. We're in Orlando. She takes it to the cage. She's running down the field. She is going for it. And a girl takes her head off with the stick, knocks her down. She's laying on the floor. I'm like, this is not good. Later on, when she came to, she's like, Dad, I thought I was unstoppable. I said, you are, just not today. But you will be in the future, I promise. You got this. It's amazing when you decide to go for it, you decide to be positive. You're like, okay, I'm gonna be unstoppable. I'm gonna live this. I'm gonna have courage. I'm gonna be courageous. It's amazing how the minute you decide to do that, you will get tested and you will face adversity. Have you experienced that? You leave an event like this. I'm gonna live my purpose, and then you face challenges and obstacles. Happens all the time. She was going for it, but she faced this big test, this obstacle. After she recovered, she gets back on the team, still being hesitant, still being fearful. Jade, you're unstoppable, Jade. I'm telling you, you're unstoppable. The way you took it in that game, do that again. You will be strong, you will be powerful. You are unstoppable. Something interesting happens. Her teammate, who was always being negative, the coach's daughter, she gets injured, so she can no longer play. And so Jade looks around and sees her team. She wants her team to win because she wants to be her best for them. She's like, we need to win. We want to go to the state championship. I've got to help my team. Next thing you know, Jade starts to take it to the cage and starts going for it. She scores 2 goals, then 3 goals, then 4 goals, 5 goals. And then here we are at the district championships. And next thing you know, she scores 8 goals to take her team to the Final Four of the state. And I'm watching this and I'm going, wow, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe this is happening. So we're not talking about this to brag about Jade's performance. Trust me, it was a miracle seeing what she was doing. Jade, you're unstoppable, Jade. Go to the cage, Jade, you are unstoppable. Final Four, she scores 7 goals to take her team to the state championships to play in that Final Four and that final championship. It was amazing. It was amazing to watch. She's named an All-American at the end of the season. She scores 80 goals that season. A girl who was hesitant and fearful. I saw the power of a positive leader. I saw the power of telling someone they're unstoppable and then watching her actually go live it and breathe it and then become it. And she truly became unstoppable. Now, the interesting thing about that is when she started speaking, she was fearful. She was scared to do it. She's going to tell you more about that story in a second, but what did I tell her when she was fearful and scared? What did I say to her? Jade, you are? Unstoppable. You are? Unstoppable. You are? Unstoppable. I kept on saying, Jade, you're unstoppable, Jade. And I also added this, you are impactful. You're unstoppable and you are impactful. You are unstoppable and you are impactful. And I started saying that over and over again. And I watched her get out there and start speaking and become impactful. I watched her find her purpose. And I realized that's our job as leaders, to help people live their purpose. It's our job as parents to not have our kids be what we want them to be, but to help them become all that they are meant to be. I didn't choose this career for her. I never thought she would do it. But now to see her do it and live this purpose, I see the power of positive leadership and the power of living your purpose. So I'm telling you that story, and she's going to tell it in a second, but I want you to know that all of you are unstoppable. All of you are impactful. And everyone here, my goal is that when you leave here, our goal in doing this is that you will leave here and you will say, I'm going to live my unstoppable purpose. And I'm going to be unstoppable in living my purpose and making a difference. And I want Jade to share now about her story, about how she found her purpose, because it's a really cool story.
So I went to Clemson University. I graduated with a degree in communications, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So after I graduated, I moved out to LA, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll start to pursue acting like most people do. So I signed up for 3 acting classes. I was taking private lessons. I got a job at a place called Wally's Wine Bar. It was a restaurant right in Santa Monica. And I worked there, and I really enjoyed acting, and then all of a sudden, COVID happens. Everything shuts down. So I'm in a new city by myself, my parents aren't there, and everything's shut down, and I say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But all I knew was I had bills to pay, and I had to support myself. So I started driving for Postmates. I was picking up people's foods, delivering it to them, and I did that for a couple months. And while I was doing that, I'll never forget delivering a handle of vodka and tobacco to apartment 4B, and I said, what am I doing? What is my purpose? Right? Yes, I enjoy serving. I know that's important, but what am I called to do? And so eventually things opened back up, and my friend that I had met at Wally's, she had just gotten a job at Nobu Malibu. It's like one of the most famous restaurants, most photographed restaurant in the country. It is beautiful, right on the water in Malibu. All the celebrities go there, all these famous people, people with lots and lots of money. And so she said, let me see if I can get you a job. And I said, okay, sounds great. So a week later, she says, hey, got you an interview. So I go in for my interview and I'm thinking, I really need this job. Like, come on, God, please, please, right? And so I'm there with the manager, they're interviewing me, and he ends up hiring me on the spot. And I'm thinking, ha-ha, he liked my personality, he wants me to work here. They were just so desperate, they probably would have hired anyone, right? So I'm there and I'm like, okay. And he says, this is a really fast-paced environment. You have to, really figure out how to adapt. We're serving people who they really want to be served in a way of they think they're the best. And so you have to really get used to that. And so I said, okay, I can do it. So my first day on the job, they hand me an iPad. And they always booked a month in advance because it's that crazy to get in there. And so they give me an iPad and they say, go check in our dinner reservations. And it was a Friday night. So I walk over to the front door with my iPad and this guy walks in. He's wearing a hoodie, a mask, and sunglasses, so I can't see him. I have the iPad and I say, what's the name on the reservation? And he stands there and just looks at me, doesn't say a word. I'm like, okay, do you have a reservation? He still stands there, looks at me, doesn't say a word. So I say, okay, well, sir, if you don't have a reservation, I can add your name to the wait list. Right now we are quoting a minimum 4-hour wait unless we have cancellations or no-shows. All of a sudden, my manager comes flying around the corner, walks up to him and says, sir, you can follow me right this way. She seats him at a table and I'm like, what was that? What just happened? She walks back up to me and she says, Jade, that was Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm thinking, first off, he couldn't have helped me out. He couldn't have whispered Leo, DiCaprio, something, right? I said to her, if I would have known, I would have said, you're telling me you and Kate Winslet couldn't have fit on the door when the Titanic sunk? Come on, right? And so being in an environment like that, it's fast-paced. You're having to learn how to adapt. My manager was yelling at me my first day on the job. And so I said, okay, being in a toxic environment like this, I need to be the person that's spreading positivity, being a leader to the people around me. Even though I just got hired, I have the ability to impact the people around me. So I worked there for about 1.5 years, and the first 6 months was amazing. When my mom would come to visit, she would stay up when I got home late at night, because they didn't close until very, very late. She would stay up and wait for me to tell her stories of who came in that day, what happened, what celebrity was there. And so it was really fun, but eventually, after 1.5 years, it was a very, very toxic environment. And I still, every day, my dad would say, be that leader. Encourage the people around you. So even though I was a hostess, the people who were bussing tables, I would go help them. Because we had, fast turnaround times for all these famous people, reservations booked back to back. And I said, I can help them. And they would say, you're the only hostess that helps us. And I would say, it's cheesy, but teamwork makes the dream work, right? And they would laugh and they would say thank you. But they said, you really helped us. And so in those moments, I realized, oh my gosh, the stuff that my dad has said to me my whole life actually matters, right? He's not just annoying. And so I realized, wow, I have the ability in this environment to impact people. And so about 1.5 years after I started working there, I walked down one day to where these beautiful couches are overlooking the ocean. And there's these 2 women sitting there. And the one woman says to the other one, tell her. She says, no. She says, tell her. And so I overhear this. I walk over and I say, hi, ladies, how can I help you? And the one woman says, well, we came to this restaurant all the way from North Carolina. The Lord has blessed me, so I was prepared to tip my server a lot of money. But unfortunately, they gave us awful service. I said, I'm so sorry, I can go get a manager, you can let them know. She said, no, it's okay, I just wanted somebody to know. I said, oh, well, you said you came from North Carolina. I actually went to Clemson, South Carolina. Automatically, her energy changed, and she says, oh my gosh, what are you doing all the way over here? I said, well, I graduated, really didn't know what I wanted to do, and figured LA was the best place to figure it out. And she kind of looked at me strange, right? And she goes, are you a Christian? I said, yes, ma'am, I am. She said, can I pray for you? I said, please, I would love that. So she puts her hand on my shoulder and she starts to pray for me. And she says, Lord, I know this girl is fearful, that she is allowing that fear to hold her back from what you have called her to do. But I pray, Lord, that you would allow her to step into her passion, her purpose, and her calling with faith to honor and serve you in all that she does. And I'm there with this woman who I've never met in my entire life. And she turns to me and she says, I see you going all over the country, speaking and impacting people. And I'm just sitting there, I'm crying, she's hugging me. This is the middle of COVID, people don't really touch, right? And so she's hugging me, and we pull out of this hug, and she looks at me and she says, I believe God had me come all the way here from North Carolina, have crappy service, just so I could tell you that. And so in that moment, I said, she doesn't know what my dad does. She doesn't know anything about me, but she's speaking life into me right now. She's helping me to realize my purpose. So I called my dad after that and I said, Dad, I want to start speaking. And he says, I just want to make sure this is your decision. You're not doing this because you think I want you to. I said, no, I really feel like this is what I've been called to do. I grew up with these principles. I know them like the back of my hand. I've been in toxic environments where people need positive leadership now more than ever. I want to do this work. I want to travel and I want to speak. And he said, okay, let's do it. So I quit my job after a month because I still was initially fearful. I was still kind of allowing that fear to hold me back. But eventually I said, I just need to go for it. I'm not going to allow this to stop me from what I've been called to do. And so I go live with my parents for about a month to just start learning how to speak, interacting with people. I went there and I spoke to my old girls lacrosse team. I spoke to a youth group while I was there. But it wasn't until my dad said, hey, I'm going to Clemson to speak to the baseball team. I want you to come with me. And I said, all right, we both love sports. That's how we bond. I went to Clemson. So we go, and it wasn't until an hour before he was about to speak to the baseball team that he sprung it on me and said, Jade, I want you to talk to the team right before I speak. I was like, what? No, I've only spoken twice before, and it was to small groups. These are guys. Maybe they're going to judge me and say, what does this 24-year-old girl know about anything? We're not going to listen to her. What if they compare me to my dad? I had really bad imposter syndrome of, this is my dad's thing. I don't know if I should even do this. But he said, just tell them a story, a principle, and how they can apply it. And so I got up in front of them, and I realized I need to teach them the principle of talking to yourself versus listening to yourself, because that's what I need to do right now. I was listening to all the fear, all the doubt, all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. But when I was talking to myself and fueling myself with those words of encouragement on why I just needed to go for it and to just share something with them, I got up there and I shared that with them. And from that moment on, I've been speaking ever since. I've been speaking to companies, schools, working with teens to help the next generation because I know they struggle so much with confidence. And oftentimes we tell people, hey, go lead, but we don't give them the tools to do it. And so I didn't always want to do this work, right? Growing up, I always said, oh, my dad, like people would always ask me, what's it like growing up with a positive guy? And they think I'm probably going to say, oh, it's awesome, it's great. I always say one word, annoying. Very much so. But again, now I can appreciate it as an adult. And it wasn't until that woman spoke life into me where she helped me to realize my purpose. And so I want to challenge you, every conversation you have with people, you can help them step into that purpose. You can help them realize what they've been called to do. And just having those conversations can also help you to find out what you were made to do.
So good, Jade, so good. Let's go, you're so good. When I hear that story, I never get tired of it because it was so wild to actually watch her live it. And then to say, like, one day, I'm going to be a speaker. I want to do this. Because I never thought she would do this work. I've been doing it for years, written all these books, gave all these talks. I never thought she would actually do this because she was always so terrified to speak in public. Like, I remember public speaking class in high school. You got like a D. And now you're doing this work. And
in college, actually.
Yeah, college. Oh, it was college.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing what God could do. It's amazing what God can do. This is not about us. This is about what God can do when you are open to your purpose and how he wants to use all of us for a greater purpose. You're not here by accident. We all have a purpose, and we're meant to live that purpose. And the more we're open to it, the more we allow ourselves to be used, it's amazing what God can do and how he will move through you. And I often think about, if I was that negative leader, there's no way she would be wanting to do this work, because this would be a bunch of junk to her. It wouldn't be real. I had to learn how to actually live this work. I had to find my purpose in order for my daughter to actually find hers. And that's the thing. When you start living your purpose and you start showing up every day living on purpose and being purposeful, other people will see your purpose and they will be attracted to it. And by living your purpose, you will help other people live their purpose, because that's what happened to us. I didn't know my purpose. And so I was really struggling when I was 31 years old. I grew up in Long Island, New York, in a Jewish Italian family. A lot of food, a lot of guilt. A lot of wine, a lot of whining. My dad was a New York City police officer, undercover narcotics. And so he was shot a few times. He wasn't very positive, my dad. He was a very loving man, a very loving guy, one of the most negative guys on the planet. You would get up in the morning, you'd say, hey, good morning, Dad. He'd say, what's so good about it? My brother and I, to this day, we still laugh. We remember that here we were at the dinner table with teenagers. We're talking about our future, our hopes and our dreams. And there's our dad. Oh yeah, I can see when you guys are older. The law firm of useless and useless. My dad had the gift of discouragement. When I started speaking, he said to me, I can't believe people pay you to speak. He said, when you were a kid, we paid you to shut up. So this is the kind of mindset I grew up with. This was Jade's grandfather. He was not like that to Jade. He goes, oh, you can do anything, Jade. You're the greatest. But for us, we didn't get that. So I really struggled with negativity, pessimism, and a lot of fear, anxiety, insecurity, and doubt. And so in my 20s, I was really struggling. And then at 31 years old, I lose my job during the dot-com crash. And so I think I'm gonna make my fortune with this company. I had these restaurants, sold the restaurants. I'm working for this dot-com. I'm gonna make my fortune, and then everything crumbles. And now my life is crumbling from the inside out. I am so fearful, I'm so worried, and I'm being really negative. And I'm being negative, not a great dad to my little kids. She was so little at the time. And then to my wife, I was blaming her for why our life was so bad and why I was not living up to my potential or my dreams. And she had enough. One day, I'll never forget, we got into an argument. She said, look, I'm not gonna spend my life with someone who makes me so miserable. If you don't change, like I'm out of here, we're done. You're off the bus, that's it. And I knew I needed to change, and I wanted to change. And that began this journey of working to become a more positive person. But I'll never forget, it started with this. God, why am I so miserable? God, why am I here? What is my purpose, God? And I'll never forget, in that moment, writing and speaking came to me. And I knew in that moment that that's what I was gonna do. And I realized that I was so miserable because I was focused on myself. It was all about me being a success, living up to that expectation that people had of me and that I had of myself. So it wasn't about purpose. It was about trying to live up to this identity and just struggling so much. And I was just so unhappy being that way. I said, okay, I want to make my life about others. I want to start serving others. I want to make my life about impact. And that began this journey of doing this work. And so I started to research all the ways that I could be more positive. And this was during the emerging field of positive psychology. So I'm practicing these ideas and I start sharing them. And then I start a weekly positive tip where I'm actually emailing them to people. I had 5 subscribers to my newsletter. My mother, my brother, best friend from college. And they were reading it whether they liked it or not. I was sending it to them. And then that led me to write a book. And then that led me to write The Energy Bus. And I'm walking one day and I'm praying, and the idea for the book just came to me. And I wrote it in 3.5 weeks of divine inspiration. And I felt like I had something that could make a difference, something that was special. And by the way, every book I've written has taken about 3.5 to 4 weeks max, and that's 28 books. And I say that because I don't take the credit. People ask me all the time, do you have a ghostwriter, John? I must not look smart enough to write a book. I get asked that so often. And I say, no, I don't have a ghostwriter. I have a Holy Ghostwriter. And I said, like, God is the author, and I'm just the pen. And I know I'm just writing what I'm meant to write, and I'm meant to share with the world. And the fact that it only takes that amount of time, I know that that's proof that it's not me. And the fact that they've sold millions of copies, I know it's not me. And so what happened was, so I write this Energy Bus, but it gets rejected by over 30 publishers. So you have something you think is gonna make a difference. You think, okay, I'm living my purpose, but now I'm facing adversity and challenges along the way. So rejection, rejection, rejection. And my agent even says, give up. It's not going to happen. But I can't give up because I have my vision and mission, and it's this: to encourage and inspire as many people as possible, one person at a time. One person at a time. And so that kept me going, my mission and my vision. We have to have a mission and vision to live our purpose. Everyone needs to have something to long for, something to hope for, and something to work towards. We don't get burned out because of what we do. We get burned out because we forget why we do it. When you know your why, you will know the way, and you won't let obstacles get in the way. So what is your vision? What is your purpose? What is it you want to build? What is it that you want to create? That will make you unstoppable as you move forward because you have this vision, this purpose. Obstacles come your way. You will not give up. And I couldn't give up because I had mine. So I kept on hoping, kept on dreaming, kept on putting it out there. And I'll never forget saying, hey, we should send it to John Wiley & Sons. We hadn't sent the book yet. Let's send it there. My agent sent it to the health editor for some reason. Wrong person. The health editor should have thrown it away, but they didn't. They read it. They gave it to the publisher, the business section. He read the book, or just looked at it actually, gave it to his assistant, said, hey, you might want to read this. She reads it. It's about a main character named George. She has a best friend with a husband named George. And she decides that she wants to do the book. Her boss says if it doesn't go well, it could be your career. She says, no, I want to do it. And so now they call me up and it's coming out 6 months later. So I'm so excited this book is coming out. And I asked my friend, what should I do? He said, pray. So I prayed for it to be a bestseller. You know what? It came out and it was a bestseller in Korea. I learned you have to be specific with your prayers. It was a huge hit in South Korea, not North Korea. But a huge hit in South Korea, but not one bookstore in the United States would carry the book. Not one. So I decided to go on a 28-city tour, paid for myself. Unstoppable purpose. Publisher would even pay for it. I was an unknown author. And so I go from city to city, sharing the message in the book. We had 5 people in one city, 10 people in another, 20 in another. The most we had were 100 people in Des Moines, Iowa. They thought Jeff Gordon was coming. That's why they showed up. And that's not a joke. That's a true story. I remember I got home from that tour, and it wasn't a successful tour at all. And I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that I had my vision and my mission. And I just had to live it and breathe it every single day. And Jade was right there. She was a little kid. And my wife deserves all the credit in the world. You know you're with the right person when they give you strength. And her mom was a rock star. And she was so supportive, so strong. And she said, you know what? We don't know what the future holds, but I support you. I believe in you. You go do this. And so that began this journey of doing this work and sharing this message. And what I have found along the way is that, okay, we got our vision. We have our mission. But a powerful way to make sure that we actually live it and keep it alive is to actually have a word for the year and pick one every year that will drive you to be your best. Because along the way, obstacles come our way, challenges hit. We'll often lose our vision. Sometimes we forget our purpose, but one word sticks. So the one word that reminds you to live your vision, to live your mission, to live your purpose each day is so powerful. I was with a group of educators. I love speaking to school districts, which I do often. And I had this teacher, and she picked the word endurance. She told her students, I will outlast you. She was unstoppable. And then I had this manager, and he picked the word retirement. I said, no, you're not allowed to pick the word retirement. I said, that would be energizing for you, but not anyone else. So he changed it to finish. He said, okay, I'm going to finish strong in my career. I'm going to finish strong in my work. I'm going to finish strong in everything I do. And guess what? It changed everything, that word for him. My wife's favorite word I've ever chosen, and I know it was a great word for Jade that year, was serve. It was the hardest year of my life. It was the best year of my wife's life, she says, is the year I served. Jade was playing lacrosse. I would go bring her food all the time. I would go, take her to practice, be at all her games. I stopped speaking a lot that year because I knew that was the year I really needed to serve my family at home because they were struggling in a lot of ways, and I had to be there, and I had to focus more on serving my family. I didn't want to at first, but my wife said, we need your help. We need you there. I'm like, okay. and my word became serve, and that changed everything. Our bond became so much stronger because of that. My bond with my son became stronger. As a family, we became stronger, and that year of service changed everything. What I have found is that your word will mold you and shape you to be who you're meant to be. And this year, my word is whole. Whole. I really believe we all have a hole in our soul, H-O-L-E. But the thing is, we have a God that wants to make us whole. As we become whole, W-H-O-L-E, as we become whole, guess what? We experience oneness. We experience connection. And when you feel one and you feel connected, you feel powerful and strong. When you feel disconnected and you feel fearful, you feel weak and powerless. And so everything in life, and this is my next book that comes out in June, it's called The One Truth. Do we feel one and powerful, or do we feel disconnected and weak? And so my job, my mission, what I'm really focused on now is living that word of whole and trying to help others become whole. Because as you become more whole and you become more one, what happens is your purpose starts to move and flow through you because you're no longer separate, you're now connected. And when you're connected to your Creator, guess what? Your purpose starts to move through you, and your purpose starts to be revealed to you, because you can't know your purpose without a relationship with the one who created you for a purpose. So you're here for a reason. There is a purpose for your life, and you're not an accident. The way trees grow with soil, they're connected to the soil. The way fish swim in water, we are meant to be connected to our Creator, connected to others. And so as we experience that oneness and connection, our purpose naturally starts to move through us, and love naturally starts to move through us. And Jade also does this one-word exercise, and I want her to tell you about her word and why she chose it for this year.
So my word this year is honor. So I decided that I want to honor and serve God in all that I do. And so that word, I remember that word, and it helps me to keep going. So for the last probably 5 years, I've dealt with a lot of autoimmune issues where it's really hard for me to sometimes even leave the house. And when you're on the road traveling, I used to think it was so easy. I'm like, Dad, all you have to do is show up and speak. But being on the road and seeing what he's been doing for years, it's really hard when flights are getting delayed, when you're gonna miss events, when they end up running out of rental cars and you have to get to a speaking engagement. All these adversity, all these roadblocks that you're gonna face. If it wasn't really my passion and my purpose, those things would deter me and stop me from continuing to do this work. And I'd say, well, I feel sick all the time. I don't really want to be on the road. But because I know, one, that this is my purpose, and two, that my word is honor, because I want to honor and serve God in all that I do. And until He tells me and shows me that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to continue to honor and serve Him. And so it was really cool also to see. We were just in LA in March for my dad's birthday. So my dad turned 50 about 2 years ago in January. And in March of this year, we celebrated his 50th birthday because COVID happened, right? And so we couldn't celebrate his birthday. So all of his friends threw him a surprise birthday party. He had no idea. So they all show up at this restaurant, and they invite all his friends. People flew in for this birthday party. And some of the people that couldn't make it, they sent in videos. And they were saying all these really nice things. We had Dave Roberts with the LA Dodgers saying all the ways that my dad has impacted his life. Dabo Sweeney saying that he's so grateful for their friendship and the way that he's helped change the culture and how he wishes he could be there. The only reason why he wasn't is because his son was getting married. And so all these different people came, and we all stood up and we all shared ways that he's changed and impacted our lives. And in that moment, I was thinking to myself, I want people to talk about me like that. Not because I want to hear those words about myself, but because I want to hear all the ways that I've honored and served God to impact the people around me, to see the difference that you could make in one person's life, and how, honestly, the things that they were saying about him is things that people would say at your funeral. And so it was so cool to hear them say these things while he was alive, to honor him in all the ways that he's used his purpose to impact them. And so that's what helps me to live my unstoppable purpose, is to see the ways that he's honored God and the ways that he's served people. And I think that's one of the coolest things ever, and it's the reason why I really want to continue to do this work, and I'm not letting little things that, yes, they can all become big things all at once, but those little things are not going to stop me from living my true unstoppable purpose.
As Jade shares that, we don't do it for the applause, though. We do it for the cause. And I think it's important to remember that, because I haven't done these things to get that recognition. It feels so great to hear And being there was really one of the most special moments of my life to go through that. But at the same time, I know that, we don't always get the recognition. We don't always get the praise. For years and years and years, I've been on the road hustling, and Jade just saw me leave, but she didn't see what I went through. She sees it now because we did an event yesterday for PayState for their global leaders, and it was our first time doing a workshop together, and this is our first time actually speaking together. Yeah, so we do this event, but we get in last night in Chicago and late, and then we rent a car and we drive here. We don't get into like probably 1:30. By the time you get to sleep, up at 6 o'clock, probably about 4 hours sleep. I got this thing in my eye. I mean, you're always gonna face challenges. I told her, I said, you know what? When you live your purpose, it's not gonna be easy. It's going to be challenging. It's like, oh, I'm living my purpose. Life is great. It doesn't work that way. It's like actually you face more adversity, more challenges, more tests to your purpose. Am I going to choose to give up, or will I choose to be unstoppable and continue to live my purpose? And there were so many times, I have to be honest, I wanted to give up. There were so many times that I showed up, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? I don't need to do this anymore. And yet I would go there, I'd meet one person, impact one life, and I would say, that's why. See, when you become whole and you become one, you actually go after the one. That one person who's lost, that one person who needs an encouraging word, that one person who's struggling, you go after that. And I'm big on positivity. And I really believe there are moments that we don't feel very positive. So we need our purpose, as Jade was saying, to give us something to be positive about. But also what I have found is that also being positive and optimistic helps you live your purpose. And so the best advice I ever heard is from Dr. James Gills. Jade said it earlier, but I want to share it again. He's the only person on the planet to complete 6 double Ironman triathlons. Double Ironman, which means you do an Ironman, a day later you do another one. And the last time he did it, he was 59 years old. He was asked how he did it. He said this, I've learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself. He said, if I listen, I real the fear, the negativity, the doubt, all the reasons why I can't finish this race. But if I talk to myself, I could feed myself with the words and the encouragement that I need to keep on moving forward. I want to encourage you all to feed yourself every day so you can feed others. If you don't have it, you can't share it. So we do have to feed ourselves with positivity, with optimism, with belief. We have to neutralize the negativity. Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. And neither should we. We have to be more positive than the negativity that we face. We have to talk to ourselves and block out the negativity that comes our way. We have to realize that those negative thoughts that come our way, they're based on fear. And the whole goal of negative thoughts is actually to divide and separate you. The root for the Greek word of anxious means to separate and divide. When you feel anxious, you feel separate and divided. And so guess what? What's the answer to that? We love. We love the moment. We love the opportunity to serve. We tap into our purpose and love then fuels us each day as we go out there, because love casts out fear. And the minute you focus on love and you focus on purpose, fear has no power over you. Negativity has no power over you. And you start to live that on a daily basis. I saw this firsthand with my wife, Jade's mom, and it was really cool. Like a few months ago, Jade saw it too. She's complaining all of a sudden. Oh, I'm getting older. My body's breaking down. I'm not going to be like I was when I was younger. I'm sore all the time. She was being so negative. I'm like, what is going on here? So I go away to a speaking engagement. I was gone for 2 days, and I have to admit, I was glad to be gone for those 2 days. I come back, and she's like a different person. She's all energized. She's bouncing around the house, feeling great, light and free. I'm like, okay, what is going on? Like, have you found a boyfriend or something? Like, what's happening here? She goes, no, I talked to the health coach. And I had a meeting with the health coach because she got this really cool testing done where they test your blood, your DNA, your genes, everything. And so they're testing all of that. And she said, they said I had something really rare. They said, we found something really unique in you. You have the genes of an Olympic athlete, is what they told her. So now she's walking around going, I am an Olympic athlete. I am an Olympic athlete. She goes, you want to play tennis tomorrow? I will crush you because I'm an Olympic athlete. You might see Katherine Gordon in the 2024 Olympics. It might happen. But the funniest thing is, with Jade being a great lacrosse player, my wife would always take credit. Oh, she got my superior genes. Because we're the same height, so my wife's taller. She got my superior genes. She would say that all the time. I'm like, honey, I was the Division I athlete. You didn't even play sports in high school. And now she's taking credit for the rest of our lives, being an Olympic athlete. The soreness went away. The pain went away. She starts working out every day. She's been training like nonstop. She's been like a different person. I realized the power of our words to live our purpose. I am strong. I am courageous. I am powerful. I am more powerful than the challenges I face. I am here to make a difference. I am unstoppable. I am impactful. I want to encourage you all to say that on a daily basis to yourself. Start saying, I am each day. Say those positive words. We hear it often like affirmations. No, there's the power of our words and our thoughts. Because what we think, what we say becomes the reality we experience. Are you with me on that? That is our power every day, and we have to do that on a daily basis to elevate our thinking. I have a resource here. It's called Fuel, and I'm sharing this with you because I want you to use this to uplift yourself on a daily basis. It's a tool that every day will help you feed the positive, uplift your soul, encourage others, and then love it instead of fearing it. This is a resource. It's a one-pager that you can look at to remind yourself to do this on a daily basis, because I want to leave you with a tool that you can use. And I want to close by telling you a final story. Do you remember that flight that we took? We were going from Jacksonville, Florida. We were going to Maine, first time ever going to Maine, connecting in the Philadelphia airport. We arrived an hour and a half late for our connecting flight. We landed in Terminal A, and we're leaving from Terminal F. And I know in Philly you have to connect at C16, which is really far from A. At C16, you have to take a bus shuttle, which then takes you to F. I look at the screen, we only have 10 minutes to make our connecting flight. I'm thinking there's no way we're gonna make it, but we have to go for it. I look at Jade and Cole. They're about 8 and 10 at the time. Catherine. I'm like, all right, guys, let's start running. So there we were now running through the airport. Those who travel recently, have you noticed more people running through airports again? They're running again. Next time you see someone run by you, I want to encourage you to do what I do, cheer them on. I cheer people on all the time. The other day I saw a woman running by me in the Atlanta airport. I said, go, 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 I believe in you, you can do it. And she ran by me and she gave me the thumbs up like this. I don't always get that response. I was in LaGuardia, New York, I cheered this guy on, he gave me the finger. It's all right, I turned a negative into a positive. I said, that's right, you're number one. So there we were now running through this airport. We're huffing, we're puffing. Jade's like, Daddy, slow up. I'm like, Jade, we gotta get there. Come on, let's go. I didn't say unstoppable at the time, but I was like, we got this. So we're running, we're huffing and puffing. We get to C16, there are no bus shuttles there. Look at the watch, 5 minutes to make our connecting flight. There's a woman who's in charge of all the buses. I said, how long did the buses get here? She said 4 minutes. So Jade and Cole start crying, we're not gonna make it. I turned to them, I said, guys, you have to stay positive. You have to believe we're gonna make it. I'm telling you, we're gonna make it. I turned to the woman, I said, we're gonna make it, right? She said, you ain't gonna make it. The bus arrives, we get on the bus, we get to Terminal F. It's the last gate. 1 minute to make our connecting flight. So we are sprinting down Terminal F as fast as we can. Finally, I get there, I left everyone in the dust. I was getting on that plane with or without them. And just as I arrived, they slammed the door right in my face. I said, ma'am, my wife and kids, they're in their way, thinking that would help. She said, I'm sorry, sir, there's nothing I can do. I said, you don't understand, we have all these plans, the other flights are booked. We'll have to stay overnight in the airport, it will ruin everything. We have to get on this plane. She said, I'm sorry, sir, the plane is pushing back, look. Catherine, Jade, and Cole, they arrive. We go to the big window, we see the small plane, and it's pushing back. And we're so dejected. Jade and Cole are crying, I start crying. And as we're watching this plane push back, that we realize that we can see into the cockpit. We realize that we can see the pilots. We realize that they can see us. We make eye contact. So we start jumping up and down, waving to the pilots. About a minute later, the door opened, a woman came out and she said, it worked. She said, they're gonna let you on the plane. We walked down the stairs on the tarmac. They stopped the plane. The passengers were not very positive. We took off, we landed, another miracle occurred, our luggage made it too. So we're driving away in the rental car, I think, okay, great teachable moment for Jade and Cole. I said, guys, what'd you learn from this experience? And her brother, Cole, said, you know, Dad, I learned to just keep running. I thought he was going to say I learned to stay positive. He said I learned to keep running. I said, you know what? So often, I really believe that's the key to our success. I tell Jade all the time, just keep running. Stay positive. Never give up. Be unstoppable with your purpose, and you will make a greater difference. I know that she did that today, right? And we came here when we were asked by Davin, we came here, we knew that we were honored to share a story, but our goal was to share a story to give you hope. Whether you have a kid that maybe doesn't listen to a word you say, because she didn't listen to a word I said, they'll come around at some point. Or the fact that maybe they're not living their purpose or you're not living yours, or you can make a greater impact with your purpose. We want you to know, we want you to believe that you truly can, because we've seen it and we know it, and we know the power of you living it. So thank you for having us speak. We really, truly appreciate it.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I love the one word, by the way, and whole and honor. And I want to share this directly to John and Jade now, because I also have a word as I absorbed the spirit of what you just said. And John, for you, my word would be relentless. Like this relentless energy and this transformation of being a parent, which for those parents in the room, hardest leadership job in the world, but to be relentless. And Jade, my one word is confidence. You sparked a level of confidence. Like you were one of the most confident people that I have ever seen, heard, and felt connected to, from our talk in the back to how you changed lives today. So thank you for showing up as the most confident version of yourselves, and you're on a lifelong mission, and we're all super proud. So hands together again for Jade. It's awesome. And I have a word for every person in this room, and that word is impact. Because all of this 2.5, 3-day experience, we have a choice. There will be a fork in the road. And that fork in the road usually comes in the form of next Monday morning. Because we're going to leave a little over an hour from now after being inspired by Nick Vujicic, and it's just going to be an amazing end, an amazing conclusion. And if the impact stops there, what a shame. Because here's what's going to happen. Monday morning, the inbox and the family and the distractions and life. So there's this fork in the road. And you've been here. We all leave inspired from these amazing events. And then sometimes life hits and we're left with nothing more than a sugar high. We reflect back and poof, there's the inspiration. So we have a rule at the Purpose Summit. No sugar highs allowed. No sugar highs allowed. Because when we go the other direction and we don't succumb to that sugar high is impact. So there's a couple of things that we want to make sure it continues well beyond our time at Notre Dame. For one, those that have used the app. So by show of hands, who has already dove into the app? Yes? Awesome. Majority of the room. All of this inspiration, all of the words that have been shared from this stage and beyond will be uploaded in the coming weeks so that you will be able to continue to absorb these messages, hit play with your teams, get in the boardrooms, keep the momentum going. Let's not allow these words to end at Notre Dame, because we all know there's people that are not in this room that matter just as much as each and every one of us. So let's share that gift. The final gift, and this is something, if we can put the QR code up here on the screen, and we've got our whole Purpose Point team here. So we've all talked about the community and the membership and really just being one and continuing on a journey together. So here is a gift on behalf of Purpose Point that I'd like to extend to you. For everybody that says, I'd love to continue the momentum. I lead a team, I lead an organization, I consider myself a culture champion, but what do I do? What are the tactics? What can I implement? How can I create 365 impact? And if that is how you are feeling, if that is what you are compelled to do, all that we ask is either visit us in the back or scan this, set up a call. And here's the thing. All of these community assets of loading the next 60 days with more content, more everything to just give you free gifts and tools. We're not only going to give that to you as a gift from Purpose Point. If you run a 500-person organization, all 500 will have access. If you have a 2,000-person organization, and I can keep going, everybody's going to have access. And that's a gift because we believe that no sugar highs should be allowed. So that is a gift from Purpose Point. And with that, this break's going to be pretty tight. We want to try to conclude on time. So a 5-minute, this is a quickie, folks, 5 minutes. So get after it, and we will be graced with the presence of Nick Vujicic in 5 minutes. So let's do this.